Kathleen believes the shaft could lead to Cleopatra's lost tomb, hidden deep underground. But trying to excavate this site is dangerous.
For 2,000 years, Cleopatra's final resting place was thought to be lost forever, swallowed by the sea and erased by history. But deep beneath the Egyptian desert, far from prying eyes, archaeologists have uncovered a tomb that challenges everything we believed about the last pharaoh. What they found inside is unlike any burial ever recorded. A labyrinthine tunnel, golden tongues of the dead, and a sarcophagus sealed not just by stone, but by deadly liquid metal. Could this ancient masterpiece be hiding secrets powerful enough to rewrite history, or something even more ominous? The hidden tomb discovery. For centuries, Cleopatra's tomb was considered lost to time, swallowed by the shifting sands or the rising sea near Alexandria. Historians long accepted that earthquakes and floods had swallowed the royal burial, consigning it to myth. Yet in late 2022, a team of archaeologists working about 30 miles west of Alexandria in a ruin known as Tapusiris Magna uncovered evidence that would turn this belief on its head. Buried roughly 43 feet beneath the ruins, they encountered something no one expected: a massive, perfectly carved tunnel stretching nearly a mile through solid limestone bedrock. This was no ordinary passage, and it was certainly no simple tomb. The tunnel's scale and precision stunned engineers and archaeologists alike. 6 feet in height, with smooth, perfectly level walls, it rivals the most famous ancient tunnels in the world, such as the Tunnel of Eupalinos in Greece. Initial theories suggested it might have been for water or mining, but none matched the extraordinary refinement and purpose evident here. The air grew moist and salty as the team descended, some sections submerged under the water table that had risen with centuries of geological changes. The tunnel's survival through earthquakes and sinking coastlines was a technical marvel, but it was what lay beyond that truly baffled the team. Dr. Kathleen Martinez, leading the excavation, immediately sensed that this tunnel was something far beyond a mere underground passage. Its depth and design suggested a secret route, built not for commoners, but to safeguard something precious and powerful from imminent danger. The Romans were closing in and determined to capture Cleopatra alive, to parade her as a prisoner and symbol of their conquest. If the queen wished to escape this fate, she would have needed a hidden sanctuary, a fortress of death or afterlife concealed beneath layers of stone and secrecy. This tunnel was it. As they carefully explored the sediment-filled floor, the team discovered relics scattered along the way: alabaster heads depicting high-ranking individuals, and bronze coins stamped with Cleopatra's own likeness. These artifacts weren't just reminders of a queen's power, they were tangible proof pointing to her presence. But the greatest shock was still ahead, inside a concealed chamber linked to the tunnel, where the team found mummified remains unlike any others. These bodies bore golden tongues, a rare burial custom signaling elite status and a mystical connection to Osiris, the god of the underworld. The consistent theme of secrecy and protection was crystal clear. This was not a simple burial. It was a fortress built to defy the conquerors and ensure Cleopatra's legacy would endure. But many questions remained. Was this truly Cleopatra's final resting place, or merely a decoy meant to fool the Romans? What other secrets lay behind the fused stone and mud brick wall detected by ground-penetrating radar as a massive hollow anomaly? Whatever awaited inside promised to alter everything known about history and power in the ancient world. Despite the magnitude of the find, the team moved cautiously. The airtight chamber had not been opened in nearly 2,000 years, and the air that escaped was stale but heavy, carrying a metallic sharpness. The delicate state of the tomb forced the archaeologists to proceed with extreme care, wary that premature exposure could endanger the artifacts and even the structural integrity of the entire site. This delicate balance between discovery and preservation set the stage for revelations that would challenge long-held historical accounts. Beyond the physical dangers, the discovery rewrote an archaeological narrative shaped by Roman chronicles, the ones that depicted Cleopatra as a seductive temptress rather than a brilliant ruler. The stark contrast between what had been recorded and what was uncovered in this tomb planted a seed of doubt. Was the world ready to face a truth that contradicted centuries of history? The answers seemed buried not just under stone, but in symbolism and ritual meant to keep the queen's story hidden from those who wished to erase her. The story of this hidden tomb is not just about the past, but a puzzle reaching into present-day mysteries. Why it remained concealed for so long, what it protected, and what it means for how we understand Cleopatra's reign.
Deep, warm, wise African-American male voice like Morgan Freeman, slow, soothing, powerful storytelling cadence with rich resonance and perfect dramatic pauses. The discovery at Taposiris Magna demands more than excitement. It calls for a reevaluation of history itself. Yet even now, what lies in the tomb and the truth it holds remain elusive, locked behind ancient locks and codes yet to be fully deciphered. The secrets hidden within the tomb are only the beginning. To really understand why Cleopatra's burial astonished the world, we first need to revisit the woman herself, the mastermind behind it all, the genius behind Cleopatra. Cleopatra is often remembered by popular culture as a figure defined by romance and manipulation. But these are mere fragments of a much richer story. Far from being a simple seductress, she was a polymath who spoke nearly a dozen languages fluently, including the native Egyptian tongue, an unprecedented achievement for her dynasty. She mastered mathematics, astronomy, and medicine, blending intellect with political savvy to maintain her power in an empire under threat. This multifaceted brilliance allowed her to challenge Rome's growing dominance in ways few rulers could. When Cleopatra ascended the throne, she crafted a new identity for herself far beyond mere royalty. She became the living embodiment of the goddess Isis, a powerful symbol that conferred divine status. In ancient Egyptian belief, Isis was the mother goddess who resurrected her husband Osiris and ensured the cycle of life and death. By aligning herself with Isis, Cleopatra tapped into legitimacy and reverence that transcended politics, commanding faith and loyalty rather than mere obedience. This was not vanity. It was a strategically brilliant act that made her untouchable in the eyes of her people. Her alliances with Julius Caesar and later Mark Antony weren't casual romantic entanglements. They were deliberate power plays designed to protect Egypt and her reign. Cleopatra and Antony, as representations of the divine couple Isis and Osiris, planned an empire bridging the East and West. Their union threatened Rome's ruling elite, especially Octavian, who saw Cleopatra as an existential menace to his ambitions. The propaganda that followed painted her as a foreign witch and schemer, but it obfuscated the real source of her power: intelligence, culture, and devotion to her people. While Roman historians focused on discrediting her, Cleopatra was quietly preparing for the worst. She knew the coming war would destroy everything she had built and erase her legacy if she left her fate in their hands. Rather than allowing the Roman conquerors to display and desecrate her body, she sought a burial that protected both her remains and her authority beyond death. The stories of her dramatic demise by snakebite fit neatly into Roman narratives, but likely mask far more complex intentions. Cleopatra's decided exit was a ne plus ultra of dominance over her narrative and inheritance. Instead of going down in a Roman erasure fashion, she meticulously picked her burial site as a safeguard against the Romans, picking a sanctuary that was holy, concealed, and impenetrable. This was not the well-known royal palace tomb by the sea, but a temple of Osiris, the god of the afterlife in Egypt. The selection of Taposiris Magna was a signal of her mastery of symbolic power, geography, and political resistance. The ancient Egyptian cosmology of controlling death, opening ways, and army tactics made Cleopatra's tomb a luxuriously extravagant grave and prevented it from being a mere burial site. It had to be an invincible fortress of the soul, constructed with exactness and intent to endure the tempest of the next era. It also clarifies why this location was ignored by many archaeologists. For a long time, people hardly knew that Cleopatra's grave might be in a place where the Romans would hardly even think to look. It was a secret locked up by a clever plot, waiting for the right tenacious researcher to discover it. The genius of Cleopatra was not only in the field of intellect, but more importantly in the field of practical wisdom, as she was able to stay in command even in death, thereby securing her authority. Her legacy was not only in the form of rituals, but also in the form of stone and metal. Thereby heaven and earth. She was always the winner of the power struggle, and her character was endlessly humanized. To fully appreciate the impact of the tomb's discovery, we need to get familiarized with the underground passage that protected it, a wonder of both engineering and symbolism. If Cleopatra was the mastermind of this hidden tomb, then the tunnel was her masterstroke, a silent yet powerful message to the future. The tunnel and its purpose. The mile-long tunnel discovered beneath Taposiris Magna is one of the most extraordinary feats of ancient engineering ever found. Carved entirely through solid limestone bedrock, it is 6 feet tall, perfectly level, and extends over 4,200 feet. Its precision rivals some of the greatest known tunnels of antiquity, yet it serves no obvious practical purpose like aqueducts or mines. The walls are unnervingly smooth, and its sealed end concealed something truly remarkable. Engineers describe the tunnel as a geometric miracle, a technical achievement designed with unparalleled accuracy. Ancient builders of this scale and skill were rare, and this corridor stands as a testament to the extraordinary resources and effort invested in safeguarding what lay beyond. Its location, buried deep underground and partially submerged under the modern water table, protected it from natural disasters that destroyed much of ancient Alexandria's coastal ruins.
This preservation is one reason why the tomb and its tunnel survived the centuries. But what was the tunnel for? If not utility, then it was clearly purposeful, a passage crafted to lead somewhere of supreme importance. Dr. Martinez posited that this was a secret escape route, or a guarded passage to an afterlife sanctuary for Cleopatra and her closest allies. The surrounding tomb complex, with its elite burials and sacred artifacts, supports this. The tunnel was more than an access path. It was a symbolic and physical shield against Roman conquest. Inside the sediment lining the tunnel, the team uncovered extraordinary finds. 2 alabaster heads representing a king and a high-ranking figure, as well as bronze coins bearing Cleopatra's image. These artifacts serve as markers of authority and ownership, signaling that the passage was built for the queen herself or those allied to her. This was no common corridor, but a corridor of power meant to protect the living Isis and her dynasty. The tunnel's atmospheric conditions further hint at its design. The air was dense with moisture and carried an electric charge from underground vibrations. Some theorists believe the shape and materials of the tunnel create natural resonance frequencies, intensifying sounds or even evoking a sense of dread or reverence. This could be a psychological defense, a warning system, or part of a ritual framework designed to protect the tomb from intruders by unsettling them. Roman records provide no hint of a tunnel like this, which deepens the mystery. Its existence contradicts accepted accounts of Cleopatra's death and burial, suggesting she and her priests crafted a mythology to mislead the world. This tunnel, hidden for 2,000 years, was a deliberate strategy to conceal not just a body, but a secret. What that secret is will unfold as further discoveries cast new light on the queen's final resting place. The tunnel not only safeguards the physical tomb, but also stands as a symbol of Cleopatra's enduring brilliance and defiance. It reminds us that behind every stone lies a story, and some stories are guarded more fiercely than others. The tunnel beckons us, a silent corridor challenging historians to rethink the narratives centuries in the making. From here, the mystery deepens with the discovery of those buried within the tomb, guardians whose very mouths were sealed with gold, hinting at rituals and beliefs that blur the lines between life and afterlife. The sprawling tunnel leads us into a complex world of symbolism and elite secrets that reveal just how far Cleopatra's preparations extended. The gold-tongued mummies. Beneath the surface, beyond the tunnel's end, archaeologists uncovered a hidden chamber that contains some of the most extraordinary and perplexing burials ever found. The mummies there were far from ordinary. Their mouths were sealed with gold-foiled tongues. This rare ritual had deep significance in ancient Egyptian belief. It symbolized granting the deceased the ability to speak to Osiris, the god of the underworld, securing safe passage and communication in the afterlife. Only elite individuals received such an honor, marking them as guardians or custodians of sacred knowledge. The golden tongues suggested these mummified figures weren't merely protectors of the queen's body. They were guardians of a spiritual and political legacy. Alongside these bodies, the team found coins stamped with Cleopatra's image and alabaster heads of nobility, implying the chamber was a place of reverence and power. These were not random burials, but part of a carefully orchestrated ritual, honoring a divine connection that extended far beyond death itself. Such elite burials indicated the people entombed there played a vital role in safeguarding the queen's secret, possibly priests or high officials who served as protectors of her passage into the afterlife. Their placement adjoining the elaborate tunnel suggested they were placed as sentinels, both physical and spiritual, a living firewall against enemies and grave robbers.
Their presence alone challenged what historians thought they knew about Cleopatra's death and burial. The use of gold in funerary practices was no accident. Gold was considered the flesh of the gods in ancient Egypt, eternal and incorruptible. The golden tongues symbolized speech that transcended mortality, granting the dead the power to defend and communicate beyond the grave. This ritual elevated these individuals beyond mere mortals, aligning them with divine forces that ruled fate and eternity. Besides being symbols, the golden tongues had a practical function. They marked the dead of the elite as belonging to a sacred order that was allowed to keep a secret so critical that not only human loyalty, but also divine approval was needed. The dead, or the living, were to protect Cleopatra's legacy and the sanctity of her secret tomb. This meant that the tomb was both a grave and a fortress, concealed by the veil of mystery and ritual. The unearthing of the gold-tongued mummies contributed to the already confusing story.
What scientists found was not a mere buried place, but a site of tremendous religious and political value. The cave and the people entombed there reminded the world that the death of Cleopatra was not a solitary event. It was a community, a divine transition that was very carefully planned and executed. It changed the whole picture of understanding regarding loyalty and funerary practices in her time. The existence of these mummies was an implicit indication of the other finds, such as bronze coins and alabaster statues, which together formed a narrative of a secluded force that was guarding the Queen's passage. The protectors were not merely the Queen's flesh and bone guardians, but they were also the custodians of her knowledge, power, and possibly even of the secrets that had not been recorded in history. Their role was to keep her safe in death, just as she had ruled in life fiercely. This issue made the curiosity surrounding the tomb's purpose more complicated. It was a resting place and a sealed sanctuary at once, combining royal worship with protective magic and political opposition. The team was aware that not only these mummified guardians, but also the even greater mysteries lay behind them, waiting to be discovered. What they discovered in the next chamber would make the Roman historian's account of the events look like a very inaccurate one. Behind the heavy stone walls in the heart of the tomb sat a black granite sarcophagus unlike any other, a sealed vessel whose secrets were far darker and more complex than anyone had imagined. The black granite sarcophagus. The sarcophagus discovered deep within the hidden chamber defied all prior descriptions found in Roman and Egyptian records. Carved from a single block of black granite and polished to a mirror-like sheen, it appeared wet under the flashlight beams. Its enormous size and flawless craftsmanship marked it as a masterpiece of ancient engineering, intended to house someone or something of unimaginable importance. But there was more to it than just its beauty. The sarcophagus was sealed not merely by mortar, but reinforced with lead, an unusual choice signaling advanced burial techniques. What truly set this sarcophagus apart was what lay beneath the lid. Sensors detected a fluid inside, identified as a suspension of resin mixed with an extraordinary metallic liquid, mercury. While mercury burial fluids were documented in ancient China, they were almost unheard of in Egypt.
The toxic, dense metal served a dual purpose: preservation of the bodies and defense against grave robbers. Anyone reckless enough to break the seal would have faced immediate poisoning, turning the tomb into a deadly trap. The use of mercury suggested a level of sophistication and scientific understanding far beyond common mummification practices. The liquid metal formed a natural barrier, a biohazard shield, crafted to preserve the contents for millennia. This indicated that Cleopatra's final resting place was more than a grave. It was a vault, built to endure both time and human interference, a fortress of preservation and secrecy. Through the careful insertion of endoscopic cameras, archaeologists glimpsed inside without disturbing the seal. They found two mummified figures floating in the liquid, one smaller, adorned with a pendant shaped like the wings of Isis, and a larger male figure with unusual ribs bent outward, implying a highly specific, ritualistic embalming technique. Between them lay a bronze cylinder, intricately etched with spirals and serpents, but fused shut, its contents a mystery. This arrangement challenged historic timelines. Roman accounts stated that Antony died first, then Cleopatra, and that they were buried separately. However, the forensic positioning suggested a joint preparation, pointing to a joint ritual or pact, possibly an elixir or concoction designed to suspend life briefly or transition them together into godhood. This narrative hints at a purposeful, sacred alliance beyond political marriage. It was a shared passage into eternity. The inscription on the sarcophagus lid, visible only through tiny cameras, was not a prayer, but a curse and legal decree. It declared that the occupants were not mere mortals, but manifestations of the horizon, an esoteric title linking them to divine control over fate and rebirth. This level of secrecy and symbolism confirmed that the priests of Taposiris Magna played an active role in hiding and protecting Cleopatra's most guarded secret. With the black granite sarcophagus uncovered, the mysteries deepened, revealing Cleopatra's death and legacy as an orchestrated spectacle of power, faith, and unbreakable loyalty that lingers still beneath the sands. The guardians with gold tongues and the impenetrable sarcophagus raise the stakes, inviting us to explore the enigmatic chamber that watches over the queen's eternal sleep. The ritual skull chamber. Beyond the imposing black granite sarcophagus, the excavation team discovered a smaller, darker tunnel leading to a circular chamber that sent chills through everyone present. The room's walls were carved deep into the limestone, forming a perfect dome scattered with 36 niches. Each niche held a single human skull. But these were no ordinary remains. The skulls were meticulously cleaned, polished, and coated with a fine dusting of gold, arranged precisely in a circle facing inward toward an empty central pedestal carved with deep spiral grooves. The number 36 itself carries heavy symbolic weight in Egyptian astrology. There are 36 deacons, celestial star groups believed to govern the fate of pharaohs and the destiny of kingdoms. These skulls seemed to represent a kind of celestial map, intertwining death, stars, and royal divinity.
Arranging human skulls in such a pattern suggested a ritual far beyond what Roman historians ever mentioned, indicating an ancient practice rooted in secret knowledge and cosmic power. The air in the chamber was dry and charged with a strange energy. When Dr. Martinez and her team whispered from one side, the acoustics amplified their voices and focused the sound intensely at the pedestal's center. Some experts hypothesize this was a purposeful design meant to harness sound resonance during sacred rituals. Ancient priests likely used this audio effect to induce trance states, communicate with gods, or charge spiritual ceremonies, turning the tomb into an active, living temple rather than a silent resting place. The presence of these skulls and the carefully crafted sound chamber challenged all assumptions about Cleopatra's death. This was not a quiet, mournful exit. It was a deliberate, orchestrated state funeral conducted in absolute secrecy while the Roman forces closed in miles away. The guardians who sacrificed their lives to create this circle were likely priests, servants, or devoted followers, united by loyalty and faith in the queen's divine status. Traces of blue lotus resin, a mild narcotic known for its psychedelic properties in ancient Egyptian rituals, were found on some skulls. This detail suggests these guardians entered death willingly, perhaps in trance-like states, believing they were protecting Cleopatra as the living embodiment of Isis. This potent mix of faith, devotion, and ritual sacrifice paints a scene of tragic beauty and terrifying loyalty rarely glimpsed in history. The skull chamber raises a new question. Why arrange such a complex, eerie protective system? The answer may lie deeper in the tomb's design and the technology infused within. Beyond these ancient guardians, the mystique of the tomb becomes intertwined with sound, vibration, and secrecy on a level rarely imagined. This bridge between the living, the dead, and the cosmos is not just spiritual. It is a puzzle that challenges modern science and interpretation. To make sense of these mysteries, we must explore the emerging theories that expand this story beyond the realm of traditional archaeology. Theories beyond history. The discoveries within Cleopatra's tomb have sparked theories that challenge what we consider possible in ancient times. The presence of mercury sealing the sarcophagus, the acoustic properties of the skull chamber, and the intricate artistry suggest a fusion of science, spirituality, and protection beyond routine burial customs. Scholars now propose that this was possibly not just a grave, but a vault, constructed as a safe haven for knowledge, bodies, and perhaps even technology waiting to be rediscovered. Mercury, toxic and rare, served as a preservation fluid here, but it also acted as a deadly defense against tomb robbers. The idea that this fluid could form a biological firewall, instantly poisoning anyone who breached the sarcophagus, is revolutionary. It reflects an advanced understanding of chemistry and biology, far beyond simple embalming. This mixture created an anti-theft system, a method of securing the Queen's legacy in both material and mystical forms. The acoustics of the circular chamber, particularly tuned to a frequency of 19 Hz, known scientifically as the fear frequency, raises further questions.
Humans cannot consciously hear this sound, but the body instinctively senses it. Exposure triggers feelings of dread, hallucinations, and paranoia. Some theorists suggest this was an intentional psychological trap. The tomb itself was designed as a fear machine, discouraging intruders through induced terror, making the sacred space an invisible barrier no ordinary grave robber could face. Beyond these defenses lie more speculative but compelling ideas. Some ancient alchemists considered mercury the prima materia, the fundamental substance underlying life and transformation. Cross-cultural links with Eastern traditions, such as the legend of Shiva and Mercury's regenerative properties, raise the possibility that Cleopatra's tomb was engineered to suspend life temporarily. The combination of Mercury with elements in the bronze cylinder may have created a crude type of ancient battery or stasis field designed to preserve or pause the occupants until a future time. This notion of suspension rather than death pushes the limits of history and science alike. It moves Cleopatra's final resting place from a traditional tomb into the realm of ancient biotechnology or proto-science fiction. When combined with the era's known sophistication, think of the Antikythera mechanism, a complex Greek astronomical computer. Ancient Egypt's technological capabilities may have been far more advanced than often acknowledged. The tomb's design also suggests a remarkable understanding of geology and physics, using natural earth vibrations amplified by the tunnel and chamber to create a rhythmic pulse.
Deep, warm, wise African-American male voice like Morgan Freeman, slow, soothing, powerful storytelling cadence with rich resonance and perfect dramatic pauses. This spatial and sound engineering evokes rituals of protection and sacred resonance that could last eternally. It hints at deliberate engagement with forces beyond human perception, combining science, spirituality, and politics. As these extraordinary ideas unfold, they reveal just how far Cleopatra's story stretches beyond legend into the heart of civilization's deepest mysteries. What remains locked behind these ancient walls raises questions not only about history, but about our readiness to face truths long hidden beneath the sands. The mystery that remains. Despite astonishing discoveries at Taposiris Magna, Cleopatra's tomb remains sealed in mystery. The sarcophagus, laden with toxic mercury and protected by an intricate sealing system, poses grave risks to archaeologists. Exposure to air could instantly destroy its fragile mummies, while any disturbance to the mercury's balance might unleash contamination or structural collapse. Traditional excavation is impossible, forcing scientists to rely on remote imaging and micro-cameras to glimpse its secrets without damage. Beyond science, the finding carries deep political weight. Cleopatra's ancestry, Greek, Egyptian, African, or a mix, has long fueled debate. DNA evidence could redefine cultural identities, yet governments fear the upheaval such revelations may spark. National pride, historical narratives, and diplomatic interests all clash over who owns her legacy. Tourism prospects add pressure. The discovery of the tomb could change everything for Egypt's economy, but its preservation is already threatened by looting and overexposure. The decision-making is difficult for the officials, as they have to choose between financial gains and the safeguarding of the site.
People like to guess when they can't see anything. Some think that Cleopatra's tomb is like a time capsule that holds the knowledge which was lost along with the library of Alexandria. There is an idea of a bronze cylinder inside that could have anything from maps to medical texts to proto-scientific data. Others focus on the tomb's weirdness with acoustics, the low-frequency vibrations that are said to instill fear. Maybe it was an ancient psychological defense. The role of mercury in post-mortem speculations is very wild, ranging from dielectric preservation to fabulous stasis technology. Whether it is myth or reality, Cleopatra's tomb is a challenge to history's image of her as a mere seductress, but rather a strategist whose final move still takes place underneath the Egyptian sand. Cleopatra's tomb is more than a grave. It's a vault of secrets blending history, science, and mythology. As researchers tread carefully, the Queen's story reminds us that truth often lies beneath long-held beliefs waiting to be rediscovered. If you want to uncover more mysteries hidden beneath the sands, make sure to like and subscribe. There's much more history ready to be revealed.